No, we can just go to questions.
Adam, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, hey Clark. I'm sure you want to be sort of patient in setting depth charts and figuring out roles and all that sort of stuff. You've got a lot of time, but whatever that timetable is, personnel decisions, is that dictated more by what your expectations are and when you want to set those roles, or is it dictated more by how the players' competition goes?
Are you asking, like, is there a time frame that's going to kind of govern when we make the decisions, or just seeing it played out? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Do you want to say, hey, I want to know what my rotation is at linebacker by the end of spring, or is that this guy's clearly better than another guy, so we can make that decision quicker?
It'll be case by case. I think, for us and as a program, we'll take up until the ball's teed up and kicked off if we need to. And in some ways, I said this prior, but you're dealing with a group of athletes that are young in their journeys as athletes. So every day can be a new evolution as a player, as a person. And you always want to give these guys room to grow and evolve. So we'll wait as long. I think delaying those decisions is strategic. I think if there's a clear, distinctive one, there's a reason to play ones with ones to develop chemistry. So I am aware of that and conscious of that. It just, there needs to be like a really clear separation, and I don't know that that'll happen for any position until we're in fall camp. But we run out right now with ones and twos. We mix that up, and again, that's all. I mean, every player in the program needs to feel like they're competing for the starting job, and then even beyond that, we won't all of a sudden have a start point for the season and say, okay, now our depth chart is set. I believe strongly in continuing that competition through the season, that your team can evolve over the course of the 4 months of a season also. So you want to give it room to do that and keep re-looking at those competitive battles, production, practice habits, all that stuff to factor in.
I don't know how different your scheme is offensively or defensively from what these guys did last year, but have you gotten any hints about that, of guys having to make drastic changes from what they know? What have you seen so far about how they've adjusted to the scheme?
I think adjusting is the right way, but I don't know if we haven't spent any time on what was done before, what it was, or those conversations don't necessarily matter to me. I think anytime something's new, there's a period of adjustment, and I think with every day you see elements of the settling in of a package, the settling in of a play, and then there's other things that you say, okay, well, like we got to do this better, and you defer judgment, and you just kind of keep working, day to day to build. It's a fun time. I mean, this is a fun time because everything's new, and when everything's new, you're just getting a fresh perspective every day, and there's just like these small little growth points that get you excited. And I think that was missed a year ago in spring, where you're not necessarily judged on that game each week. You're in this steady like mode of progression, and that's fun.
Thanks.
Robbie.
Hi, Clark. You've mentioned height and length and athleticism as traits you look for in recruiting. For quarterback, I feel like that's a little bit of a different position. What do you and Joey Lynch, what are like the main traits that you look for there, and what are the challenges of evaluating players when you can't see them throw in person?
It's very challenging, and I think particularly for Joey, who's really honing in on the specifics of technique, release, rhythm, timing, all those things that you pick up when you watch a live eval. The quarterback position is interesting because there's just an element of connectivity there where they're connected with the entire offense. So like I hear Joey talk a lot about not necessarily being athletic, but being a great athlete. Like he makes that distinction, which when the first time he said it, I had to stop and say, like, well, what do you mean? What he's saying is you can be athletic and have measurements, but like when we put cornhole out, can you win in cornhole? Or if we go play basketball, are you gonna be the point guard and set a tone that way? Like it's just that ability to have skills and applied skills to a competition, a knack for, again, timing, hand-eye coordination, like a desire for that competitive moment where it all comes down to you. I think a great quarterback is the same guy you want shooting free throws at the end of a basketball game, right? I mean, that's kind of the mindset. Those are you can't measure that. That's a feel thing, and you got to be careful how far down you go in terms of leaning on those intangibles that can't be measured. We look at accuracy as an important part. Obviously, arm strength is too, but accuracy is a little more extending plays. The ability to extend plays, to convert third downs. In terms of with their feet, that's an important part. You can be mobile, but not necessarily a running quarterback, right? I mean, it's just having that feel for when it's time to tuck the ball down, when you have the space to convert. And there is an IQ element, a football IQ element that we get a hold of through our conversation that you can get on Zoom. We can go through progressions on Zoom and ask for feedback. I mean, that stuff is helpful too. So those things, just being a great athlete, being somebody that just has that competitive spirit, that competitive drives, the winner, like a winner. Accuracy over arm strength, obviously both important, but accuracy is critical. And then the extending of plays and extending of drives with their feet, also important.
Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, Clark, knowing that you're not judging people by what they did in other schemes last year, which aren't going to be yours. At the same time, I'm sure, saw film on some of these kids and picked up on some of their attributes. So with all that going in, what have been the things that maybe have surprised you as you've seen a workout so far, as compared to the information and maybe the opinions you had going into the spring? I know that's a hard question to answer, but I just wanting to know maybe what pops out as something that you have that you didn't know you had.
Chris, I didn't spend that much time like on the film, on the product necessarily. I pretty quickly, went to the attitude of the team, like the environmental stuff. And so I've been, not surprised is the wrong word, but I've been pleased with the development of the environment, the development of the attitude within the team, and the strides we've made in that sense. I will say that, you are information gathering on, anytime you drop yourself into a new environment. And I don't want to necessarily talk specifics, and I hope you understand that, but like there are guys that, might stray comment here or there, like, oh, he can't do this or he can't do that. And then you get out there and you realize, well, he can do that. And maybe his inability to function in that way in the past had less to do with his skills and more to do with some of the other inhibitors, mental inhibitors or behavioral inhibitors that were holding back performance. And so as much as we all want control, we all want like clarity, right? It's like, hey, how quickly can we get through this and get our team set? It's just, I think part of success as a coach is a willingness to just to be okay in a gray area in every aspect, and to keep every day learning anew about your players. I will tell you that a number of guys have displayed abilities that probably on the front end were seen as limitations, that again, I think there were more peripheral issues that were keeping performance from happening. So it's a work in progress. The other thing I would tell you too is, I mean, every practice I feel like, is for most of our players, one play can look really good. The next play, we're dropping the ball, or we're not running the right route, or we're not in the right position on defense. And so good programs can sustain performance, and we're still working on a level of consistency down and down out. And you don't really know what your player is capable of until you see what they're able to sustain consistently. So that's a part of the evaluation too.
Just a quick follow-up. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what I hear you saying is that it sounds like you had kids that maybe were able to do things and confidence got in the way. Is that a fair way to put it, or how would you phrase it?
Confidence is a part of it. Yeah, I think it's just, I mean, there's so many, even as a coach, I mean, look, like my ability to communicate clearly, what impacts that? Well, the mood I wake up in, right? The conversations I have leading into the team room. I have to be really disciplined to keep my lines clear and clear the static before I get in front of that team, so that I'm not carrying anything with me. Words are powerful things. And if you allow something outside the building or a singular interaction to become the message to the whole, you create problems. Well, I think that's performance in a coaching standpoint. I see it the same way for a player, and it can be confidence, and confidence to me is driven through preparation, right? And in practice and training, but also it could be a really hard chemistry test. There are a lot of things that can be disruptive. What we're trying to do here is set up clearly defined systems of development, and through preparation build confidence in the moment, and then also discipline the mind to clear the static for the player so they can focus on the performance required in the moment. And I think if we are successful in doing that, to your question specifically, if we're successful in doing that, we will get the best version of these guys, and we will see them perform in ways that maybe they haven't in the past because they've been held back. Nothing frustrates me more than on offense when I've got coaches yelling out alignments from the sideline, because for an offensive player to get lined up, right? When I'm getting yelled at from the sideline about my alignment, that's an input, and there's inevitably there's a panic involved, right? We got 40 seconds and the time's ticking, and it's just it's chaos. Give me that guy with ownership over his alignment, and I'll see a player that's focused on the shell of the defense. And maybe that focus on the shell of the defense gives him a clue as to when to snap off his route. And now we're anticipating. And when we start anticipating, we deliver the performance. That's the game of inches, right? Well, you don't have that until you have ownership over the alignment. And so that's just one example of how inputs can impact performance too, trying to clear all those lines and clear the static so that our guys can focus simply on alignment, assignment, technique, execution, and finish. Those are kind of the things we see as the building blocks to good play.
Betsy, good morning. You're up.
Hi. How do you get players who opted out last season back up to speed? That's kind of a unique challenge of this spring. So how has that kind of been working so far, especially on the offensive line?
Well, back up to speed physically is about accounting for the time missed through our winter conditioning segment. That happens naturally. And these guys don't, I'm starting to realize in my life now, I'm slower to recover now than I was when I was their age. But it doesn't take long for them to get back into shape. Reacclimating to the team environment is another dynamic, right? But I think what happened when there's a coaching change, there's a natural reset for everybody, and we haven't spent any time on that, honestly, because the value is assigned by the work that's invested. And so for those guys to again, focus simply on the work they're to do every single day with their teammates. We formed a team around that mindset, and we don't spend any time on decisions that were made in prior seasons. But look, both. I mean, the reality is both require adjustment. The physical conditioning is about the training programs, the training regimens. We've handled that. The team culture, the team environment, I think has been handled by the fact that everything's new. And so we're building this anew. And so long as people are opting in every day, right? I mean, that's you really have that choice every single day. We're focusing on that, and guys are opting in every day. I don't think their teammates think twice about it. I think we're all just excited about what we're creating together now.
And are there any newcomers that are standing out so far, either with their effort or kind of like what they're doing on the field too?
Molly Hart, who's our assistant director of operations, done a great job with the clock, and I'm just being funny. Molly has done a great job. No, in the spirit of like, we're going to play live football on Saturday, and so that'll be fun. And I'll be excited to see who flashes and who stands out in that environment. I think everyone, to be fair to everybody, there's so much learning. I make the joke about Molly because literally, we're like building our systems every day, and so we're attentive to how we can strengthen, our practice procedures. Well, for the players, they're learning those procedures too, and so I might get excited today about our transitions. Like I might get excited about the fact that both our players were focused on transition points in practice, and our coaches were focused on transition points. So what I saw and heard was a spirited team moving about, and that's really exciting to me. And I think standing out in those ways kind of is what's most important to me right now. But there's just this acclimation to everything football, the scheme, the roles within the schemes that we'll find out Saturday a little bit about. I think the next scrimmage we'll know a little more, and then obviously by the spring game we'll say, okay, these guys are really standing out as positive contributors.
Rob, you got one more?
Yeah, I guess along those lines, Clark. What are you looking for in this scrimmage on Saturday? Like you said, I believe the first scrimmage of the spring.
Well, little things, I mean, I'm not going to come out of the scrimmage, looking at necessarily the stat lines. I want to see ball security, ball disruption. I want to see center quarterback exchanges. I want to see communications. I want to see proper alignments. I want to see teams that play hard, and physical and can sustain that effort over time. That'll be the measure. I mean, it's not, look, it's, there are going to be moments where it's going to be great. It's just like practice. There were moments today where, man, things look, really good. And you're like, okay, this is awesome. And then, there are other times where we're struggling to get a playoff or we're struggling to get lined up on defense. We're going to deal with some of that volatility. I guess going back to what I said to Chris is, it becomes how we consistently perform, not to just throw out coaching jargon, but I mean, it's just the truth, right? How we sustain our effort, how we perform consistently, how we capitalize on the opportunity to make a play. That will strengthen with time. This first scrimmage is going to be way more procedural. Can we play a disciplined style of football? That'll be, and then I just want to see spirit and competition, right? Just like, let's just have fun with it. I mean, we're not going to do a lot before. This isn't going to be like, let's have a practice and then roll the ball out. I want these guys I want this to be, put the ball down and let's go, so we'll get to it pretty quickly and fill hopefully an hour and a half to 2 hours with a lot of spirited football.
Coach, that'll do it. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you everybody for being here. Really appreciate you covering our team.
Thanks a lot.